Hello, dear students. I am Samir Velankar. I welcome all of you to this second video on the hash search topic. Now, in the first video, we saw what is hashing, what do you mean by hash function that maps all the keys into the hash table, what do you mean by collision or overflow, and what do you mean by linear probing. We also saw an example of linear probing where we saw how if a key like 65 gets collided at address 5, so basic address of 65 is 5, then we linearly increment the address and we map 65 at the vacant place which was 6. So 65 was mapped to address 6. Linear probing is in fact a method used for handling collision. We know that whenever we map the keys into the hash table using some hash function, definitely there will be some collisions because there is a probability that two keys will get mapped to the same address. And if two keys get mapped to the same address, then we have to store the collided key somewhere at the some other address. To decide that new address, we use linear probing. So linear probing is nothing but collision handling technique or collision resolution technique. Linear probing has some disadvantages. Now, watch this. What really happened in linear probing? This will be very easy for you to understand. Look, 55 actually got mapped to fifth address as 55% 10 is 5. And when we started mapping 65, 65 also got mapped to address 5. But then we linearly probed it and stored it at address 6. And what happened very soon is there was another key 66. Now 66 actually should have got mapped to address 6 because 66% 6 is 6. But 66 could not map to address 6 because it collided at address 6. Note that 65 is already occupying the place of 66. So 66 was thrown out of its house and it was stored at address 8. Don't you feel that 66 should have got stored at address 6? Come on. 66 got mapped to address 6, but unnecessarily some other person occupied the house of 66 and 66 was kicked out. We also see a big chain over here, big chain of values getting developed. And this is very dangerous for hashing because in hashing, absence of a value can be announced only if we get empty slot. For instance, as you see, there is such a big cluster. This is known as a cluster here. This is known as cluster of values without any empty slot. Now just imagine we were searching 109. Then 109 should be at ninth address. 109% 10 is 9. But this is not storing 109. So what? We will linearly search 109. Not storing 109. Next location not storing 109. No more 109. But then we go circularly, and if 109 has to be present, it should be present at address 0. But address 0 is vacant, and hence we declare that 109 is absent. Now, how bad was this cluster? You tell me, how bad is this? Because if there was a slot somewhere in between here, somewhere, or over here, somewhere, then while searching 109, we would have easily found out that 109 is absent. Storing values just one after the other without any empty slot is a big problem of linear probing. Now, this problem of linear probing can be easily solved by using a technique called direct chaining. This is the second video about. So technically speaking, the second video starts now. Direct chaining. We are still having the same array. Observe the same values. We are going to map these values into the hash table. And our hash function that we will be using is again key %10. The same function. Like 55 will get mapped to address 5. But you clearly observe the hash table this time, is having 0 to 9 elements. Just observe this very carefully. The hash table size is 0 to 9. But in linear probing, what happened is because we wanted some empty slots, we declared the array hash table which was having size more than the size of the array A. So it was bigger in size, isn't it? But here, the hash table size is dictated. or is decided by the hash function. You tell me, if we are using hash function key %10, come on, what will be the smallest address? Smallest remainder can be 0 and the largest remainder can be 9. That means the addresses that we are going to get out of any key is between 0 to 9. So in direct chaining, check my words, in direct chaining, it is sufficient to take hash table exactly from 0 to 9 elements if the hash function is key %10. So what if the hash function we used was key %20? Then the addresses would be in the range 0 to 19. 19 can be the largest remainder, isn't it, if you are dividing any key with 20? In that case, the hash table size should be 0 to 19 elements. So in direct chaining, the size of the hash table is primarily decided by the hash function. The hash function gives smallest and the largest address, and that smallest and largest address is deciding factor for declaring the size of the hash table. Another thing you observe in this direct chaining is that the hash table in this is nothing but table of pointers. That means each element over here is a pointer, and the pointer can point to a linked list. So actually the idea is very easy. Whenever a value gets mapped to some address, we will store that value not directly inside the hash table, but we will store it outside the hash table. But inside the hash table, we will simply have a pointer, and the pointer will point to the list of values which get mapped to that particular address. So as you can see, I'll be drawing the corresponding hash table, how we got this. Let's take the first value 55. 55 will go at fifth address. 55% n is 5. Then we are not going to store 55 inside this array. That's what we did in linear probing, isn't it? Or open addressing. But what we will do is, as 55 has got mapped to the fifth address, we will make a linked list. I'm just drawing it, redrawing it over here. And 55 will be stored in a node of a linked list. Isn't it so? Then 62, the next value, will go at the second address, and 62 will get stored in a node of a linked list. Similarly, 77, the next value, will go at seventh address. So 77 gets inserted at the seventh node, where there is a pointer which points to the node which stores 77. Now starts the fun part. You see this 65. Check this 65. What happens to 65? 65 also gets mapped to the same address 5, isn't it? 65% n is 5. And what we did in linear probing is, because 55 was stored inside the table here, 65 was linearly probed to the next location, isn't it? But that's not going to be done now. In direct chaining, if 65 gets mapped to the same address, we are just going to extend this linked list and store 65. That's what has been shown here, isn't it? I'm just redrawing it. So now you might understand why this particular table has been drawn in this fashion. As you can see, 55, 65 and 85 get mapped to the same address 5. Then we are making a linked list. We are making a linked list which obviously ends with null. And 62 gets mapped to the second address. So we are making a linked list only of one node which stores 62 and which ends with null. Similarly, 66 goes at sixth address, 77, 87 goes at seventh address, and so on. Interesting, isn't it? But there is nothing stored at 0th address. So 0th pointer will be simply null. Or there is nothing stored at first address. So first pointer will be null. Similarly, I think third pointer will be null. Fourth pointer will be null. Okay. So now we have mapped the keys. This is just the preparation for searching. You recall? We have mapped the keys, and while mapping the keys, whenever there was a collision, by the way, which keys collided? Think over it. Which keys collided? 65 collided, 85 collided. We don't say 55 collided because 55 went first when this slot was empty, isn't it? But then when 65 came in at address 5, we already had a node 55. So we say 65 collided and 85 collided, isn't it? These two keys collided at address 5. Then 87 collided, you see, because 87 joined 77 later on. So three keys collided out of the given 9 keys. So we have mapped all the values. Now what? Now we are going to search. We have finished the preparation for searching. Now let's search a key 85. I purposely took this key 85. So how will you search 85? First of all, apply the hash function. 85% 10 is 5. So if 85 has to be there, then 85 must be at the fifth address of the hash table. So we simply go to the fifth address of the hash table and we will search 85 in this link list, isn't it? Awesome. And we get 85, isn't it? But how many comparisons? Come on, come on. How many comparisons are we going to do? First comparison was done with 55, correct? We didn't get 85 at fifth address. Second comparison was done with 65, right? We didn't get 85 at fifth address. And the third comparison gave 85. So three comparisons were needed to search 85. Coming up again here in linear probing, look where was 85 stored. Come on, this is too much. 85 had basic address 5, but due to open addressing, 85 was simply linearly probed. All these locations were occupied by the time we were inserting 85, and 85 went at 11th place. Now if you are searching 85, then search of 85 will begin at 5, and 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, come on, 7 comparisons will be needed to search 85. We have got huge improvement here by not disturbing the neighboring places as we did in linear probing, isn't it? As you can see, the clusters are avoided over here. So what if we were searching, let's say we were searching 11, and 11% 10 is 1. So if 11 is present, it should be present at the first location, but the first pointer itself is null. That means 11 is absent. Just one comparison, isn't it? Or suppose we were searching 12, then 12% 10 is 2. So if 12 is present, it should be present at second location, this location, and we will search this linked list, and we will not get 12 after first comparison with 62, and then we'll get null, and that will announce that 12 is absent, isn't it? So how many comparisons we did for searching 12? Two comparisons, first with 62 and second with null. When we got null value, only then we were able to announce that 12 is absent. So that's the difference between linear probing and direct chaining. By the way, don't forget, linear probing and direct chaining are methods to handle collision. Just remember this. If there is a collision, and but naturally there will be some collisions, if there is a collision, there are two methods. First is linear probing and second is direct chaining. Isn't it so? Okay. Thank you very much.